everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about how to place an advanced OCO order. So I'll start by providing the definition and I'll dive into Thinkorswim to show you exactly how to create an advanced order. So the first thing to know is that an OCO is a unique order type that allows one factor to cancel another factor. OCO orders consist of a primary and two secondary orders that are placed simultaneously. The primary order initiates the trade, while the secondary orders are contingent on a take-profit target and a stop-loss limit. An example of an OCO order is if you were to purchase a call option set at a premium of $100. In the advanced order, if you set the take-profit target at $200, you're aiming to double your money. If you set a stop-loss at $50, you're limiting your loss to 50%. Which I will say is too high since you shouldn't risk 50% on a trade, but this is just an example. Now with that, if the option contract does reach $200, then your take profit order is executed and the stop loss is by default canceled. Adversely, if the option contract decreases in value to $50, your stop loss order is executed and the take profit order is then canceled. So with that being said, the primary purpose of an advanced OCO order is to have multiple functions of an order take place at once. Now that might be a bit confusing, but I'll break it down in just a second. But what it's basically entailing is that if one order is met, the other is automatically canceled. And traders use OCO orders to pre-plan for both favorable and adverse price changes. With that, the key feature that makes an OCO order so helpful is that it allows for risk management strategies to be implemented without having to actively monitor the trade, and this is especially useful when the market is volatile. So now that we have the basic understanding, let's dive into Thinkorswim so that I can show you exactly how to place an advanced order. Okay, so I have PayPal pulled up here in Thinkorswim. Now the very first thing we're going to go ahead and do is click on options right here in the middle, and now it's going to pull up the option chain and we can take a look at the weeklies. So we see the very first one is going to be July 19th, which is set for 5 days of DTE. I'm going to go ahead and select the drop down. Now, once we do this, again, the first thing to note is going to be what the current share price is trading for. So we see PayPal is currently trading for $60.27. So for example purposes, we're going to take a look at the $61 call, the strike price. If we're looking at the $61 strike price, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the bid, the ask, and then remember, I always tell you guys to pay attention to the delta, gamma, theta, and vega. These Greeks are going to be so important, okay? So we're going to take a look at the bid price, which is going to be $54. I'm going to go ahead and select it. That way we have it pulled up. And then, of course, you're going to go ahead and hit on tap option quantity to edit. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just break everything down. So you would be paying $54 or $56. Some people buy the ask. It's completely your choice on that. And then we look at the delta. That's going to tell us you would make $38 from this contract if it were to make that $1 incremental move up. And then also you would add in the gamma, which is $18. Now the theta is telling you that you would lose $7 if you chose to swing trade this and hold the contract overnight. So again, keep that in mind before you move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and hit on next, select that. Now again, so this is going to pull up the order editor. So from here, we're going to first go ahead and click on buy because this is going to be the primary order. We're buying it to begin, right? So we're going to go ahead and pay that bid price, which is $54. So I'm going to just edit it down to 54. But in order to make sure that this is an advanced order, you're going to need to click on more right here at the bottom right. Go ahead and click on more. And then you're going to go ahead and click on create an advanced order. So now you'll see the advanced order group is under the order editor. And you can simply click on this if you want it to be set for a standard OCO or if you want it to be the first trigger OCO. For example purposes, we'll go ahead and leave it at the default for this video. Once you do that, you're going to now see that the primary order is going to be at the very top in green. So it's telling us that we're going to go ahead and buy PayPal at a $54 limit price. So that's perfect for what we need. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the secondary order types, which are going to be our take profit targets and then our stop loss, or it could be a trail stop or stop limit, whatever you select is your choice. But in order to do this, we're going to go ahead and click on the add order. Now for me personally, I always have my take profit target on the left and then I have my stop loss on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And now, again, we're going to pull up the order editor once again because we're adding the sell option to this contract, right? We're going to go ahead and add that to this order that we're going to place. So within that, we're going to go ahead and take a look. first thing I want to note is that we're looking at the limit, and you can choose to set it for whatever it is, but remember it has to be consistent with whatever you chose for your primary. So I'm going to leave it set for that. And again, I'll also come back and talk about the day and good till canceled in just a second as well. But for example purposes, we're going to say that we're looking at a $10 plus or minus in the option contract price, not the share price, but only a $10 plus or minus for the option contract price. So if I paid $54 for it, let's say I want to take profits when the actual contract reaches a $10 move up, so that would make it at 64. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 0.64, and that would be that $64 that we would need for our take profit target. And then I'll go ahead and click on done, and we have that set. Now on the opposite side, we'll also need to set that stop loss. I'm going to go ahead and click on add order once again, go ahead and select it. And now we're going to take a look. At first, go ahead, you can choose if you want it to be again that stop. It could be a limit or a trail stop. I'm going to simply click on stop. Now we're going to go ahead and edit it once again and going to have it at 0.44 because that would be $10 less than what we paid for the contract. So you wouldn't want to lose anything less than that for this example. So I'm going to go ahead and click on done. And now you'll see we have our primary order along with both secondary orders. So we're going to go ahead and click on review. And now we'll look at the order confirmation. So now when we look here at the order confirmation, it's pretty much telling us everything we've done in terms of our order details. So we see again, order number 1 is going to be the primary. That's going to be the trigger. So it's telling us that we're buying PayPal at that $61 call, but we're looking at purchasing that contract for $54. Then it's telling us order number 2 is going to be the same thing, but we're going to take profit once the option contract reaches $64. Order number 3 is telling us that we're going to go ahead and exit the trade if it doesn't go in our favor and it drops to $44 for the cost of the contract. Will be stopped out and the order will be done. Okay, so this gives us confirmation for what we need. This is also going to be important for risk management, which is why it's always important to have a strategy before you hop into any trade. Never just blindly jump into a trade just because someone gave a signal or because you think it's going to be a good trade to make. Always have a way out, which is essentially an exit strategy. That's why it's important to have the advanced order placed. Now, new traders may struggle with understanding this. Now that I've explained it fully and all the way through, I hope it makes sense. But there are a couple things that I do want to go ahead and mention because, again, a lot of times I feel like people don't discuss it as often as they should. So I want to talk to you guys about the differences between this day and this good till cancel. So let's just discuss this in detail. That way you're fully making an informed decision before you hop into any trade. So let me pause here real quick because this is where having a strategy is so important. You have to have a preset game plan. For me, if I'm knowing I'm placing a GTC order, then I'm automatically looking for contracts with days or even weeks out for the DTE. Okay, so when you're looking at the time in force, it's important to take note of the elements and factors that go with that because you can have your order set for either one. Now, the difference between the two is going to be essentially what you secure for your profits or what you lose if it doesn't go in your favor and it goes against you. So let me explain it like this. If you set the order for day, and one of the factors that can make or break the contract is whether or not it reaches a certain level, let's say the order you place is going to be executed and you'll be out of that contract by the end of the trading day, which means that you may not maximize your profit if you have it set for a particular amount and it doesn't reach that amount. So in this case, the $10 increase of the contract value, it may not be met by the end of the day. And if it doesn't reach that, let's say it just gets to $62, it's like, okay, that $2 of the value of the contract moving up, it didn't get reached, so you also didn't maximize your profits. So that's the thing about setting it for day. But on the other hand, if you set it for good till cancel, this has elements as well. So the first thing to note is that if you change any element of the time enforced, they must all be under the same category. So you see that yellow caution saying that orders in the same OCO group must have the same TIF, meaning that they must be aligned. So you can't mix and have a day order with a GTC order under the same advance order. So that's just something to take note of. But also with understanding this, placing a GTC order also means that you have the potential to have it swing traded, meaning you carry it over to the next day as a possibility. And that chance is going to be very likely if it doesn't reach that maximum point when it gets closer and closer to the end of the trading day. But there's also a caveat to this as well. If you have it set for good till canceled, you have to make sure you're paying attention to the theta, which is why I always say that the option Greeks are not something you should ignore. Because if you ignore that, then you run the risk of losing more money before you even get a chance to make money. Because you don't know that the theta is every single day that you're setting it, it's going to be expiring and eroding closer and closer, and that dollar amount of the contract's value is going to decline every single day. So keep that in mind as well. So for me, if I know I'm placing a GTC order, then I always make sure that my DTE is at least a few days out, because I know that if I'm placing this order and it doesn't reach that take profit target or the stop loss, then I'm running the risk of the theta eroding the contract's value, and there was no point of me really entering the trade to begin with because it didn't benefit me from the start. So for me, I always make sure my GTC orders have a higher DTE, like automatically. There is no one without the other for me. Now, if you also have to keep in mind that if you're selecting contracts with a higher DTE, then you got to know that you're paying a higher premium for those contracts because they're going to cost more upfront, and being much higher because you're selecting contracts that are farther out from the days to expiration, versus if you select a contract with 0 days, you don't have to worry about the theta at all. So this is why strategy is so important. And to break everything down very plainly, you can place a GTC while paying more upfront for a contract with a higher DTE, and you can maximize your profits. Or you can place a day order and you're paying less upfront, but you run the risk of not maximizing your profits if it doesn't reach that target level within the same trading day. I really hope that makes sense. So just be reminded of that. I know most people don't mention that when they're talking about these orders that they enforce, and it's important to know that. So yeah, that's a part of, tying the strategy together and making sure that you're trading to the best of your abilities. So yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this video. If you found this information to be helpful, feel free to leave a comment down below. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.